Let's look into the agenda for today's session. So in our previous session, we looked into relational operators and we saw that the output which comes out of the relational operator is either true or false. So which are basically Boolean values. Now what are these Boolean values, true and false? Why do we use them? And how can we use them? How are they going to impact our code? All these things we will be learning in this session. We will see how these true and false can impact further. So before moving on, just look at this operation, logical operators. So in your schools you must have learned about these logical operators and or. And is basically logical and, or is basically logical or. So and means, so the second thing that you need to remember is and is always considered as a multiplication, or is always considered as a plus, as an addition. Just remember this, and in the further sessions you won't be able to think much. The second thing that you need to remember is always consider whenever you see true or false. So Boolean has two values, true and false. True is always 1, false is always 0. Now I'll take you to Jupyter notebook and I'll show you why we consider true as 1 and false as 0. Okay, now let's move on to Jupyter notebook and see how it works. Okay, so I have opened my Jupyter notebook. I'll just rename this to Boolean values. Okay, now let's say I have an integer 10. Let's print 10. Now if I'll say bool is basically used in order to convert any integer or any type of other data type to a Boolean value. So Boolean will result true and false, we know about that. So let's try bool 10. You'll see true, right? If I'll try bool 1, you'll get true, right? Bool will return false for only one value, which is 0. So bool will return false for only one value, which is 0. If I'll say bool 0.01, it will return true. So in the whole universe, let's take another example. I'll say -1 this. Okay, this big value, it will also return true. So in the whole universe, of numbers, you will get true value for each Boolean, each number, except for one number which is 0. If it is 0, it will show you false. So similar conditions, x is greater than 12, x is smaller than 12. So whenever you get a false, that means it is 0, right? Whenever you get true, that means it is satisfying the condition, right? Just remember this, whenever my condition is satisfying, that means it is true. Whenever my condition is not satisfying, that means it is false. In the whole universe, 0 is considered as false in the whole universe, and rest of the elements, rest of the values are considered as 1. Now coming back to the presentation. So coming back to the presentation, if you can see, so that is why, forget about every other universal element or value. Just remember this, false, whenever you see false, it will be 0. Whenever you see true, it will be 1, right? Now let's move on. So let's try this one. So I have basically combined these two operations into this. Now true and false, and we know that is a multiplication, while or we know that or is an addition. So true and false, true is 1 and multiply by false 0. 1 into 0 is 0, that means we got false. 0 into 0, false. 1 multiplied by 0, false. 1 multiplied by 1, true. If you want to try it out, I'll just try it out in Jupyter notebook. But for now, just remember this, just understand this. Let's move on. Now comes the OR operator. OR operator, we know it's basically an addition. True is 1, 1 plus 0, 1. 0 plus 0, 0. 1 plus 0, 1. 1 plus 1, 1. Moving on, so this is basically OR operator wherein we'll be adding it. So true plus true, you can think about 2, but it will be true because we know that in the whole universe you'll get only true or false, right? Now coming back to this condition, whenever you are adding two values, so you'll say true plus false is 1, 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 into 0 is 0, 1 into 1 is 1. Let's try these operations in Jupyter Notebook. So I have opened my Jupyter Notebook. Now let's try with true multiplied by true. 1, true multiplied by false. 0, false multiplied by true. False is 0, true is 1. 1 multiplied by 0, 0. Now false multiplied by false, what you'll get? 0, right? The second operation, true plus true. So you'll get 2 over here because 1 plus 1 is 2. True plus false, true plus false, 1. Always remember, this is not a Boolean value. This is not a Boolean value. Similarly, this is also not a Boolean value. Always the first letter T is capital, rest are small, and this is your Boolean value. Always remember this. Same with false. Python is case sensitive and you cannot ignore the characters. Okay, so let's move on. Let's coming back to and or. So first go with and operator. So I'll say true and true. Why are we using true and or in this condition? I'll show you in the next lecture, which will be if and else statement. There you will be able to remember all these things and you will be able to answer these. Okay, false and true. False, right? True and false. So let's correct this. False. Fine. False and false, we know it will come false. Let's try with or. True or true. True. True or false. 1 plus 0, 1. False plus true, true. False, false. Let's correct this. False, right? Understood? Now I'll show you the good way. Now why are we using this? Let's take an example. X is equal to 10, right? The first condition is x is smaller than 7. We know that it is false. It is false, right? Now if I'll say x is greater than 5, so Python is case sensitive. X is greater than 5, true. I'll just keep this in bracket. I'll say and x is smaller than 9. Fine. Now can you see we got false? Why are we getting false? The first condition, x greater than 5 is true. But the second condition, x smaller than 9, this is false. And we know that true and false is false. If you do not want to multiply this, the second way which you can think of is and is basically, if I'll say and, that means all the or both the statements should be satisfying. If either of these statement is not satisfying the condition, that means it will be false. In case of or, let's try this one again. X greater than 5 or x smaller than 9. It will say true. Why it will say true? Because either of the two conditions, any number of conditions, any one of them is satisfying the condition. That means for me this is true, right? You can try as many ways as possible. If I'll say x greater than 7 and x smaller than 15. True. Okay, so x greater than 7 and x is smaller than 15. This is if one of this and both of the statements are true, then only we are going to get the true. So let's try another one. X is greater than 10 and x is smaller than 16. What you'll get over here, you will get false, because my x is equal to 10, it's not greater than 10. On the other hand, if I'll use the same statement, x greater than 10 or x smaller than 16, so it will say that it is smaller than 16. So one of my condition is true, that means it is true. So try all these operations, try to many operations. If you have any issues, just let me know, and till then, see you, goodbye.